Okay, so you're thinking, oh, our offices don't have doors right now. You are absolutely right. They do not have doors. We're not going to worry about putting doors in them right this second. Let's do this first. Let's think about ceilings. We know how to place doors. Let's place a few ceilings. In each one of these offices and the lab, we're going to get an acoustical tile ceiling. Okay? How do we place those? Well, if we go to the architecture tab and we go to ceiling, after we save the project, we'll go ahead and do that. We'll see that the 2x4 is the default, right? We're going to have a 2x2 ACT, acoustical ceiling tile system. When we click it, the first thing we notice is that the height offset from level is 8 foot. Okay? Typically in offices, we can do 8 foot, but in our instance, we're going to go ahead and do 9 foot. So we're going to put 9 space 0 in there. And surprise, surprise, look what happens. When we go in here, right, we're trying to place ceilings and we don't see anything happening. I'm going to pause the video. We'll talk about something. You see how if I put it in right now, it puts a ceiling somewhere, but it puts it in the ceiling plan video. For what? For where it's supposed to be the first floor. Why don't we have a first floor ceiling plan? Well, we have to go up here again to what? We have to go to view, and we have to go to where? Plan views, reflected ceiling plan, that first floor one. Now that it's there, look at it. That ceiling is all across that first floor, but that's not where we want our ceiling to be right now. So we are going to hover, we're going to tab, click, delete that ceiling, right? Now I'm going to pause the video so we can discuss something. Okay, so what you didn't notice before is that if you click on this wall here, notice it's only 7 feet, it's unconnected. So I'm going to click on that wall, the walls of the lab, hold down control, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this wall right here, and I'm going to say I want the top constraint to be where? Up to the level of second floor with a top offset, right? Because we have a floor thickness, and we're going to look at this in section to see how on or off we are. We're going to put -1 foot. Now that we've done that, let's cut ourselves a section and let's look across here, all the way across here right now. And I'll pull this back some. And then I'll right click and say go to view, and I'm going to change what? That to fine, and that to what? To hidden line. And now we're seeing that's not going all the way up to where we need it with the 1 foot offset, is it? Right? So we'll go back to the first floor plan, or I'm sorry, not the ceiling plan, but the first floor plan, and we'll grab this wall, and actually we'll just make a wall around that, a window around that, and it's saying multiple categories selected, hit the filter, check none, check walls, apply, right? Now I can say take that top offset out. I didn't need that. I don't want that. And when I go back to that section, now I am going up to the deck. But what's the problem? That wall's not going to actually do that. So I can experiment with this offset. I can pull this down and say this is going to go right to there, the underside of the deck. So the offset should be 3 1/2 inches for all those walls, okay? So I'll undo that, go back to my first floor, select this wall. And it's because our deck is 3 1/2 inches. So we're going to want to remember that. -0 space 3.5, right? Go back to our view again. Now our walls are where we need them to be all around, touching that decking, right? That way we're going to get some sort of fire rating out of them. So let's go back to the first floor. And let's say that I want to go in here and put a ceiling in now. Let's see what might happen. So if I go in here and go to architecture and go to ceiling, and I go 2x2, it's still trying to highlight in all those spaces. Let's pause the video so that we can talk about something. So what we discovered is that if we try to put a ceiling, right in there, it's highlighting everything. It's because our walls in our offices are still only at an unconnected height of 7 feet and our ceilings want to be at 9. So what we want to do is select all these walls by holding down control and then going over and changing their unconnected height to 10 feet. Now, when I go to put a ceiling in here at 9 feet, right, it's concentrated in that room. So I can click once, and it's saying, you won't see these in this plan, Joel, because they're above the what? They're above the what? The view range of this view. The top of that view is at 7'6". I cannot see a ceiling that is at 9 foot. Okay, so now we can go around and we can go back to ceiling, and we can ignore the warning here. We can put one in this middle space, put one here, one here, one here, and one here. Okay, and now we can go to our what? Our section view. We see our ceilings in place in all these spaces. They are easily hiding the structure above. And now we can accommodate them, because if we look at our ceiling plan first floor, what do we see? We see our walls and we see our ceilings, okay? Now, what's interesting about these ceilings is if they didn't come in perfectly lined up to one another, if you click on one of these lines, look what you can do. You can shift the ceiling over, right? You can shift it one way, click one and use your arrow keys and shift the other way, okay? So how would we get them back aligned? We can go AL to here, this, and we're fine. If we wanted to align this to there, we could do the same thing. We could say align to here, this, right? So keep in mind, people, that there's more to do with ceilings than just place them right away. And what we're going to eventually do is decide what kind of ceiling is in all these spaces. We're going to create something called bulkheads. We'll talk about bulkheads a little later and why a bulkhead is important and how we'll use the bulkhead to control if we wanted to place a ceiling, right, in the corridor. If we don't want it to spread all the way out here, we have to create what? A wall at the end of these. But we don't want a wall that's blocking people. We want a wall that people can pass through. So that bulkhead or space above is something we'll talk about creating the next time we get in. Okay?